Okay, and this week what we'll be working with is InstaMorph moldable plastic. It's a thermoform plastic that can be heated into a molten workable dough-like form at about 140 Fahrenheit or 60 Celsius. I'm gonna do some experiments with it and I'll see you on the other side of that. And this is a piece I've already played with a bit and let it set up, and you can see it can be thin and flexible and solid. And press a penny into it. Yep. Pulling out pieces of it. Okay. Okay, and taking a look at the penny impressions we made. Does not seem to be taking enough detail to really show you what it was that was put in there. Here's our point. That's our bent it. It's got some uses and some applications that would be interesting to work with. It doesn't stink. I think I had a few issues with it sticking to the plastic container I used, so probably best worked with glass or metal utensils. Doesn't seem to like to stick to those, but I did find that at near boiling temperatures, so close to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 Celsius, in that range, it's going to be something that's going to fall apart. It's not going to drip because it stays pretty cohesive to itself, but trying to pick it up with pieces, it's going to fall apart from what you're holding it with. But other than that, I think it's pretty good material for some features. It's got some, 140 Fahrenheit or 60 Celsius is a temperature at which you can start running risks of anything you keep in a hot car will probably melt. But for some simple uses, as a modeling compound, it's a little tricky with thick pieces that are hot. They'll stay clear and workable for a while, but if you thin them out, they'll set up really quickly. And if you start them thin and you form them into a thick piece, they'll have started to lose enough of their moldability that you're going to have to frequently reheat to work on it. But all that said, I do think it's probably a neat material for many projects that otherwise wouldn't have a material to work with. I know you could probably work with like a Fields metal or a Woods metal. I tried to make a point on one of the pieces and the point bends too easily, so it's not going to be something you can make needles or hooks or those types of things terribly easily out of if they're thinner. It does look like it would be probably fairly decent for lightweight like key hooks, if you wanted to mount a key hook on your wall, or make handles for holding tools. Like if you're trying to do some sewing and you need to put the needle through a leather, if you've ever done that often enough, you'll realize that back of the needle is sometimes just as sharp as the front of the needle and will dig into your finger. Being able to have a cap that you can put on that and force it through and pull the cap off, pull the needle through. I can also see using it as a small moldable handle for precision screwdriver bits, so you don't have to use a long handle in small tight spaces, and you can make it square so that you can turn it, or even like the top of a thumb screw. One of the other aspects I found was I can get a little bit of detail that shows which was the front and which was the back of the penny when I tried to make a mold of it, but I didn't get enough that I could make a impression of something with high detail value. So it's not going to hold a lot of detail. But I do think one of the aspects I think that would be most useful with this is to take just a mass of it and keep it around in a toolkit as a multiple form tool. So you could use it as a handle for a screwdriver bit, or even a hex head, but you can heat it in some water you would keep in a thermos, and it could be a right angle piece, or it can be straight, or it can be 45-degree angles. So if you ever need to have a good handle on something that can give you twists, the trick is with the twisting motion, it seems like the finished product would bend a little more than you'd expect from like a solid cast handle, but as like in the lurch need a tool to fit this space and have this angle and work, that I think is useful. One of the other unexpected uses I think this would be good for is, you'll see in the videos of me playing with it, that you can get some tape-like or ribbon-like material if you stretch it out right. And it got me thinking that if you stretch out a ribbon of it with a piece at either end, and then heat the ends soft again and stick it to itself, you can use it for binding tarps and carpet and that kind of stuff that it won't stick to if you just make sure it doesn't contact the surface in the molten form, and let it set up. You can cut it, remelt it, it's reusable. You don't need a whole spool of stuff that you use and then throw away pieces of it. It's a reusable material. I think that's a potentially really neat use for this. It would be interesting to see if you could actually do a tied ribbon out of it. I'm not sure if that would be as feasible. I do think it would be, I'm curious, and I'll probably experiment with it a little more in the near future to see if I could do things like simple springs, or it looks like you could probably make a living hinge for a lid, so you could do a ring that would fit around the top of a bottle, and then a thin bit of that, a medium thin bit of that ribbon from one of the edges, and then another full-on lid that would fit right tightly over the top, and being able to pop that top open on that ribbon with the ring staying around the neck of the bottle. That's a possibility of playing with a lid. I don't know if you'll get a click fit lid, so it's not going to be a precise fit, but as like a bottle cap that would fit over, maybe. So those are some of the ideas of working with that I think would be useful, and it's the closest we have to a tool that reshapes itself, and it's just carrying around a quantity of this. You might need something more than just a thermos with hot water in it. You might need like a small water heater. Some of those ones you can put in a cup and it heats the water in it. I gotta wonder if there's another way to heat it without using water, but I'm not sure if that is workable. But as something to put in the toolkit and as something to experiment with, I think it has potential uses and it would be an interesting tool to keep around. Thank you for joining me for this one, and hopefully you got some form of inspiration from the 4 things we did in the last 4 weeks. The next project coming up is another book, another movie, another board game, sort of a miscellaneous category. But the next one on our list is In Between Dragons, and I hope you'll join me for that. See you next time.